You're listening to GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network. Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Welcome to the Alex Jones Show on this Monday, July 1st, 2013. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, sitting in for Alex today. He will be back tomorrow with some amazing guests. And speaking of amazing guests, we've got today coming up NSA insider Wayne Madsen. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned into that. He has been leaking documents that are now breaking news in the EU, showing that the United States government, well, the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI, I don't know if you can really call them the government, maybe the shadow government, has been bugging the embassies, the diplomats, basically all communications going back to EU countries. So that's big news, big breaking news, and I think The Guardian pulled their story on that after publishing it, so there's some controversy there already. We'll talk to Wayne Madsen later on in the show about that issue. Also coming up today, in the, actually just at the bottom of this hour, we've got Greg Caton. He is a resident of Ecuador. He was kidnapped by the U.S. State Department at gunpoint in Ecuador, was illegally extradited. You can't even really use the word extradited because that implies a legal process. He was kidnapped, actually, out of Ecuador, flown back to the United States and thrown in prison for 2 years. And it turns out that the United States of America actually has a routine habit of kidnapping Americans that they want to kidnap in Ecuador. And the reason that's relevant right now is because, of course, Ed Snowden is seeking asylum in Ecuador and 14 other countries at the moment, according to recent press on drudgereport.com today. 15 countries on his list of possible asylum destinations. So what happens if Ed Snowden ends up in Ecuador and then the U.S. government just decides to kidnap him like they did Greg Caton? Well, we're going to find out by talking to Mr. Caton today to get more information about how that actually works and how lawless and insane it really is. Now, on the world news front, by the way, we've just got a ton of news today on so many fronts, health, politics, finance, you name it. And that's the reason I only have two guests today, because it's just so much news to cover. We've got, of course, the big Egyptian protest, the biggest civil protest in the history of the world, according to some press reports, happening right now. They're trying to throw, I believe his name is Mohamed Morsi, out of office there, the recently elected leader of Egypt, following the uprising against the former dictator. It's a big deal. We're talking about millions of people in the streets right now, and we're talking about the potential for armed conflict. So it could break out into an actual civil war, a shooting war in Egypt. That could happen in just the next few days. Now, I know the U.S. press doesn't tend to cover those things very much, but it's something that you need to know about. Now, in the United States today, one of the big issues that's happening is right here, just a few miles from where I sit here at the InfoWars studio. You've got Texas debating abortion limits, and a big rally, well, two big competing rallies are now forming at the Capitol building just a few miles from here. And you've got police officers in riot gear on horseback. And they're setting up massive barricades all around the state capitol. They brought in police in riot gear from Houston because apparently the Austin police force wasn't large enough, so they had to ship them in from Houston. I guess, are they expecting some kind of a, are they expecting the pro-choice people to have a mad rush into the Capitol and have a coup or something? I mean, I'm not sure what's all the police all about, but things are heating up over there. The Democrats not happy that they can't kill babies after 20 weeks, at 20 weeks of pregnancy. They want to have the right to make sure they can terminate that baby's life at 21 weeks, 24 weeks, 28 weeks, you name it. Hey, they want to kill the baby after it's born and call it post-birth abortion. So they are rallying to protect their, quote, right to kill babies that are already, you know, humans, of course. I mean, viable human beings whose lives are protected under the Constitution. So that's what's going on right now. We'll be right back after this break with all that breaking news, all those guests, and much more. This is the Alex Jones Show. Stay with us.
Oklahoma reminds us there are many kinds of storms in our lives. Nature regularly sends us destructive storms. 24 hours before a storm strikes, people panic. It would be wise to prepare ahead of the panic curve. The food price storm from drought and livestock problems is forecast to hit ridiculous heights by the end of the summer. Wonder if there'll really be a problem? eFoods Direct has a plan to maximize your food dollar and guarantee you'll be glad you ordered food. Until June 30th, buy 3 of any food item and receive the 4th one free with free shipping. The guarantee. After September 20th, when you've seen what happened with food prices and shortages, if you're not glad you ordered food, return the food unopened for a full refund. Go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or call 800-409-5633. Your peace of mind guarantee. efoodsdirect.com/Alex or 800-409-5633.
You prepare by purchasing gold, food, and firearms. But if you don't have a home security system, then you're missing a critical weapon in your arsenal for home protection. When you're sleeping or away from home, who's watching out for intruders? Check out Simply Safe. It's a new do-it-yourself home security system that is completely wireless. Go to GetSimplySafe.com. Simply Safe is independent and off the grid. It runs on battery power, so even if the grid goes down, you're protected. It's completely customizable, so you can use it in your home, business, boat, trailer, storage unit, or shed. GetSimplySafe.com. Simply Safe is also ridiculously easy to install yourself in under 20 minutes, so there's no need to let a stranger into your home. If you move or need to relocate, you can take the system with you wherever you go. You aren't always at home, but Simply Safe will stand guard, protecting your property 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, that's GetSimplySafe.com.
Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
All right, welcome to the show. This is Monday, July 1st, 2013. This is the Alex Jones Show. Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex today. Alex will be back tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. We've got, for the next 3 hours, just astonishing news that you can't miss. And let me just give you an example of what we're talking about. And we also have some great guests coming on, including Wayne Madsen, NSA insider, who's been breaking news all over the world. So he'll be joining us in the second hour. But check this out. The Department of Defense is creating a copy of all of us in an alternate reality, well, a virtual reality, to find out how long you can go without food or water or how you will respond to televised propaganda, writes the Register. It turns out that the DOD is developing a massive, what they call a sentient world simulation. They're creating a massive PSYOP simulator in a complex computer system to simulate the decisions of every sentient being on the planet. They're actually going to populate it with, 7 billion little sentient programs or whatever the actual number is, to find out how you're going to react to their psychological operations. So then they're going to test in the simulation what would happen if they did a false flag attack, for example. How would you react? They're going to test what would happen if they dumped more fluoride into the water and dumbed everybody down a little more. They're going to test probably chemtrail attacks, biological weapons, rolling out more liberal propaganda, like making you think the family is bad, and that the only people that should have rights are undocumented immigrants or people who are not heterosexual, gays, or, you know, just they're going to test every possible agenda they can think of in this simulator. So that's just the start of the kind of news that we're going to get into today. This simulator, the Sentient World Simulator, replicates financial institutions, media outlets, and even street corner shops. It applies theories of economics and human psychology, and its developers believe they can predict how individuals and mobs will respond to various stressors. Well, isn't that just delightful? So now we're going to have a PSYOP simulator run by the Department of Defense. And need I remind you, by the way, that Google and NASA, remember Google has ties to the NSA, NASA, part of the federal government, obviously, have just purchased a 512-qubit quantum computer that operates in multiple physical dimensional realities. I mean, this is science fiction becoming real. A 512-qubit quantum computer from a company called D-Wave has just been purchased. Now, a quantum computer is, pardon the pun, but the metaphor, but literally, you know, quantum leaps above the processing capability of a normal CPU like you might have in your home computer or even the supercomputer. Quantum computers operate in multiple dimensions, and they will allow these computing systems to achieve things like easy speech recognition, visual recognition. They will allow robots to have tactical thinking, to have reasoning skills, to be able to outthink human beings. There's the article. It's in Scientific American. Google and NASA snap up quantum computer called D-Wave 2. I wrote about this on Natural News last week. It's a big deal because, and I'm going to talk about this later in the show, we are entering an era that is called the rise of the machines. Now, Alex spoke about this last week, and he was right on about it. His analysis is 100% correct. I'm going to add to that analysis today and tell you why the future doesn't need most of you. I know that's shocking to hear, but the rise of robots with quantum computing processing units is going to make most human labor obsolete. And that's going to mean that we're going to have 5 or 6 billion people on the planet that the globalists no longer need. So we'll get into that in more detail. You can only imagine what that means in terms of population control and mass soft kill, genocide, the Holocaust 2.0 that's going to be coming in the next few decades. But let's move on to other news in the meantime. We'll get back to that because that's more of an in-depth topic. Russian forces to provide security at U.S. events. This is a top story on Infowars.com right now. Paul Joseph Watson wrote this. Check this out. FEMA signs a deal with the Russian Emergency Situations Ministry to, quote, exchange experts. Yeah, we're going to exchange some experts so that Russian officials can provide security at mass events in the United States. Oh, yeah. So the sellout of U.S. sovereignty continues. And, of course, FEMA would love to do it. FEMA, of course, the agency that likes to go door to door confiscating people's guns every time there's a hurricane or a flood or a tornado. The first thing they do is say, hey, come in, let's take your guns. Take your guns away. And now we're going to have apparently Russian troops coming in to assist FEMA with that effort. There was a press release released by the Ministry of the Russian Federation for Civil Defense and U.S. officials. They met on June 25th at the 17th Joint U.S.-Russia Cooperation Committee on Emergency Situations, and they said they're going to, quote, exchange experts during joint rescue operations in major disasters. Oh, you mean like major disasters that the U.S. government causes? The ones that they make happen? Now, I'm not saying that every hurricane or tornado or fire is caused by the government, but they can certainly set off their own disasters, such as an epidemic, a release of a bioweapon, a self-replicating weapon that could cause a national disaster. And